welcome to Season 2 of Dyslexia Canada podcast, sharing stories, book reviews by kids for kids. Each episode, the show will be hosted by someone new, and we will also be joined by different guests. If you love books and reading, you're in the right place. Now, on with the show.
Hi, my name is Claire, and I'm in grade 11. I'm from Toronto, and today I am the host of this podcast with our special guest speaker, Abby. Abby, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, of course. I'm Abby. I'm in grade 12. I'm also from Toronto, and I'm being interviewed about the book, The Perks of Being a Wallflower by Stephen Chbosky.
Awesome. And can you tell me a little bit about it, just to get the gist of it?
It's a different format than most books because it's written as like a letter, and it always starts with like dear friend and ends with love always Charlie, who is the main character. And it's written as a series of letters that the main character sends to this random person and never gets a response, so which adds to the book. And like the basic idea is this boy named Charlie just got into high school. A lot of his past was like not the best, like a lot of people he knew he's not close to anymore, so he's kind of nervous to go in. So he becomes friends with his English teacher and two grade 12s, or seniors as they call it in the book, and he's like a big introvert. So as he becomes closer with Sam and Patrick, who are the grade 12s, he comes out of his shell more and gets more comfortable with himself, getting to know what he likes, what he doesn't like. And like throughout the whole book, you see the ups and downs with his family as well, like his siblings and his parents and just his friends and how he deals with it. And because of the unique perspective with how it's written, it's really interesting.
It seems like a very coming of age kind of novel to read, and kind of about, the high school experience, I guess, and growing up. Would you say so?
Yeah. And like, I bet you understand with like being in high school, it's kind of, a lot of movies are about it, but this book just has it in a different perspective, which is actually enjoyable as someone in high school, which it kind of adds another layer to it because I can really relate to a lot of things he's talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. So would you say that for a lot of high school readers, it would be a good book to kind of read to see if you can relate to some of the things that people experience throughout high school?
Yes, I completely agree. It also just like even before high school, it's like an eye-opening thing to learn about all these like different stories and that are like about high schoolers. And like, I don't think this is a book. It's not all going to happen to someone, but there are some things that do happen to people that happen in this book. And it's just like an experience to read. Even the movie, they made a movie about it with Logan Lerman and like Emma Watson. And the movie's amazing too. It's one of those books that you don't forget after reading it.
Wow, that sounds like I might have to give it a read now, because I did watch the movie. I totally cheated here. I skipped it. I watched the movie before the book. I know that's a big no-no, but it sounds, from the way that you're describing it, it sounds like a really good book. And did you mention that you've read it more than once, right?
Yeah, I read it. I originally picked it up at the airport, I think. And I was like, I want to read something. So I read it and I was like, oh, this is good. And I forgot about it. I lost the book, which is so sad. I think I left it in my hotel room. And
No.
it's very upsetting. So during quarantine, I ordered it off Amazon because I was like, I want to read it again because I just saw the movie on, I don't know, Netflix or Amazon Prime. And I was like, oh, I want to read it again. So I ordered it and I binge read it in like a week.
That's awesome. So it seems like it's got a lot of bit of cliffhangers and keeps the reader really engaged and wanting to even go back for seconds and read it another time.
Yeah, the more you read it, the more layers you find.
It's almost like you go back and you just realize you missed something, and there's always something that you might have like overseen to go back to, and always discover something new about the book.
Yeah, it's like if you know the ending, you can see like the hints to it throughout the whole book, which is so interesting to see because it's like a whole new layer to the book.
Those are the best kinds of books.
Yeah.
Something that you're not tired of or bored of reading.
That you can just keep going back to.
That's awesome. Are there any other, I guess, book recommendations that you might recommend to a reader if they like that book in particular?
I don't know. My like taste in books is so like everywhere. Recently, I've been into Taylor Jenkins Reid, like The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, Malibu Rising, Daisy Jones and the Six, where it's fictional celebrities in like the 60s, 70s, and 80s. And again, it's like it's always written from like a different perspective, like not just regular books. Like one of the books is written as an interview, like a documentary style interview. One of them is written in sections per husband, and one of which is like also kind of like a podcast.
Oh, that's so neat.
And then the last one is written with like different perspective changing like every 10 pages, and it goes by the minute.
Oh, wow. That's interesting.
Yeah, they're all cliffhangers. Like
Yeah.
it's like you just have to keep going back.
I find that having a lot of different perspectives, especially in the way that something's written, can really portray a certain message. So it's very powerful and it makes the book or even the movie just a lot more engaging.
It's again about the layers of the book. um it's just like seeing, you can really get to know characters by seeing it like from all different points of view, or like just even if a book's written not in the typical way, like Perks of Being a Wallflower, you just see like because of how he's written it, it's like he's looking back on it, so you can see what he wanted to say, what he ended up saying, why he said that. So it's not just in the moment, it's in the past, future, and present.
Oh, wow. That's a lot of different aspects.
Yeah.
Like that, it'll definitely keep you on your toes, that's for sure.
Yeah,
I was actually just wondering, so did you happen to listen to it like on an audiobook or did you have the hard copy?
I have the hard copy. I stuck it out.
Oh, wow. That
But
that must have been a really good book then for you to stick that out.
yeah, it's a thin book, and
Mhm.
I find, especially with my dyslexia, the pages are a good color because the font is so bright against it. Like, yeah, it's the font's like huge compared to other books, and like it's like really crisp to be able to see. I don't know if fonts are described as crisp, but I'm gonna act like they are. Um, but I read the hard copy. It obviously takes longer than listening to it, but I like the smell of books, so
Me
it's
too.
worth
So
it.
yes, I know because my thing is I always want to have I want to have a hard copy in front of me so that I can kind of like go with it as like I listen to it. But I also I usually prefer listening to it because
Hmm.
then it'll just be faster and I can still go along with the hard copy.
Yeah.
Do you know if the audio version is available anywhere?
Oh, it definitely is because of how popular the book has
Mhm.
been.
So, Avi, just in general, how would you describe some of your experiences with how it's been like for you reading different books and anything to do with like texts or any kind of like material in school and outside of school?
Well, I was only diagnosed right before quarantine.
No
And
way.
yeah,
Is that grade 10?
yeah, it took a while.
Wow.
I always knew I had it, like I had it
Mhm.
in the back of my head, but it was like I got the confirmation then. So growing up, you gotta just accept it. That's what I find, because if you keep denying it, it's gonna get worse. And you're not gonna be able to grow from it because you learn so much from just having it. You learn how you learn.
Yeah,
Just
I think, yeah, you're so right. It's so important to just, you're never going to lose anything from, I guess, getting answers for yourself. Like, you'll never be at a loss because you're always just going to gain something from getting insight. Was there anything that provoked you to get a diagnosis, like right before that? Was it like you were finding that you were really struggling or?
yeah. It was a lot of like everyone else would be way ahead while reading.
Right.
And I do like my strategies where I take like a ruler, put
Mhm.
it down and look down the page, or I'd like work with one of my friends who I sit beside, and I would just like ask to like talk about it, because
Mhm.
I love English as a subject. Like I love learning about different literature. Don't like reading it sometimes,
Yeah.
especially like old Shakespeare stuff.
Oh my goodness, the bane of my existence.
I know, but you at Indigo they have like ones where it's like old Shakespeare and then modern English on the other side, which is great. And I think it's just communicating with everyone you're around, like teachers, friends, like anyone who's going to give you material to read, that you have dyslexia, because no one's going to say no.
Right. Yeah, I
Like,
think that's really good to have a really good support group. That's very important for anyone who has any kind of like a learning discrepancy, especially because you need like hands to be there for you when you fall, so that you don't have to suffer when you make a mistake.
mm-hmm. And
So were your
dyslexia,
teachers supportive of you?
yeah. And dyslexia is one of those things. It's once, like, so many people have it that you're going to find more people with it. Like, you're not the only one.
Yeah, I think that's a really good message for everyone to know, is that you're not alone in this, and that a lot of people are struggling with the same kinds of issues that you have, and there's like a whole community out there that is proud to have dyslexia and have some really amazing accomplishments.
Exactly.
So if there's any advice you could give to anyone that also has dyslexia, what are some of the things that you found really helped you get through any of, I guess, like your harder or more trying times?
To keep pushing yourself. Like, don't give up, because once you give up, it'll only get harder. Like, you'll only realize how much harder it's going to be.
Yeah.
And if you just keep pushing and you get that support group, you're going to find things will slowly get easier and easier.
That's so important too. I also have dyslexia, and I find that sometimes it can be so discouraging to just kind of, like give up a little bit or give into it. But it really is so much harder than to just come back from it and bounce back. So it's really important that, you surround yourself with, like you said, all the people that are there supporting you and listening to you, so that you're ready to get back up there and just keep, doing what you're doing, and, working with your dyslexia instead of against it.
Exactly. I think that's super important.
Yeah.
We interrupt this podcast to tell you how you can get involved with the show. Share your story with us here at Dyslexia Canada by posting a picture on Instagram, Twitter, or Facebook of you with your favorite book. Don't forget to tag us and use the hashtag Sharing Stories Podcast. We can't wait to see what book you pick. Okay, it's time to get back to the show.
Do you have like a favorite, I guess, character?
I don't know, like the way that they're all portrayed, it's like a different, like I see a little bit of myself in all of them. But I think my favorite's Sam. And she's one of the seniors that Charlie was friends with. And she's just one of those people that just seems so carefree, but also knows who they are, which is like kind of what I aspire to be. And she makes a lot of wrong decisions in the book, but she always seems to find herself, which I like. And it's like, I like how she interacts with Charlie and Patrick and all the other characters. So she's got to be my favorite.
Wow, Sam seems like a pretty cool person. He
Yeah.
seems like one of those, I guess, a very like realistic, down to earth kinds
Yeah.
of people where, I guess sometimes I feel like people are portrayed as like their best selves all the time. So it kind of seems like Sam might be one of those person who, you know, like anyone else, makes mistakes, but is able to always find a way to, I guess, compensate for them.
Yeah, but the thing is, with the perspective of how the book's written, it's Charlie has a huge crush on her. So of course he thinks she can always bounce back.
So how long would you say that this book, like you said, you didn't need to use the audio version because it was written very clearly. So how long would you say that took you to, I guess, finish reading?
Took me a week, but it was like during quarantine before school was really online. So it was like a week, but I had all day, every day.
Wow,
And
that's a really good thing to do during quarantine. It
yeah,
sounds like it was a really worthwhile book.
yeah. So I did that, and then I watched the movie. So I inhaled all the perks of being a wallflower content I could.
That's amazing. What a great way to pass the time.
Mm-hmm.
I might have to, just the next time that there's like, I don't know, a boring week in summer or maybe over the Christmas break, I'll have to see if I can find that book because I'm really interested in it now.
I think they have it at like bookstores because it was a New York Times bestseller.
Yeah. I've seen a lot of really good reviews on the book. I know, like I saw the really good reviews in the movie, and I know that I see like a lot of people, like it seems pretty popular. Like if I'm on the subway and stuff, every once in a while I'm like, oh my God, there's that book again. I gotta get one. Gotta get one for myself.
Yeah. And it's not a long book too.
So it's kind of like, I guess, it's a lot of really important, I guess, information, but it's not really super long.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Those are the best. What about, would you say that there's anything in the book that made it challenging to understand or read, or just something that you didn't like? Maybe you didn't like the ending?
I did like the ending, but it's just like it's a sad ending,
Mm,
and it's one of those things where it's just like bittersweet, which it's like I like a good ending, but I also like the bittersweet ending, so I'm conflicted about it.
right.
I also, the first time you read it, like for a bit, it's hard to understand, like to get used to reading it from a letter perspective. But after the first chapter, it's fine. But at first, I was like, "Oof, this is going to take a while to like to properly digest and get to comprehend."
Right. So it seems like you kind of just have to go with it and trust the process.
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay. And what would you say that the author's main message to all the readers is from this book?
I think it's just awareness on a lot of the issues that were discussed in the book, and just to bring a lot of the hardships that the characters experience into light, because it's a lot of the issues discussed are not things brought into that are not things a lot of people talk about openly, and it's important too. And I think this book just does it in such a good, like solid way where it's like you understand how important it is to know that these things happen, and that you have to discuss it.
Right. So it's very powerful to all the readers to, I guess their takeaway is that everyone has their own, I guess, issues, and sometimes there's like harder talks than others, but it's really good to open up about those difficult conversations.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Did you have a favorite, I guess, part or line or just in general, like chapter of the book that you would want to share with us today?
I'm I can't think of an exact chapter, but I can. My favorite relationship is Charlie and the English teacher, because it's like such a role where it's like mentor
Mhm.
and mentee, and it's like a sweet relationship throughout the whole thing, and I just like how much he like cares for Charlie throughout it.
It seems like all the characters in this book, I don't know if I'm wrong or not, but it seems like there's a lot of growth everywhere.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah,
I like the difference between the start of the book and end is like you can like see it.
right on. That's such a relevant topic, especially now with the between the pandemic and adolescents and anyone who's like, I guess, in their high school years or their teens to, their 20s, starting to learn how to, I guess, adapt and change and grow as a person.
Yeah. I went into quarantine, what, just starting grade 10, and now,
Oh, that's wild.
yeah, and now I'm going to university in 6 months.
That is just crazy.
Yeah. It's one of those things again that you relate to in the book, which I didn't relate to when I read it in quarantine because I didn't know how long it'd be. But it's like, I don't know, growth is going to happen, but you don't realize it till the end, which the characters like didn't realize until the end of the book too.
That's almost kind of like how when you go read it back again, you're like, wait a second, I've also changed too. So it's kind of like in a way you're growing with the book. That's really personal and very interesting.
Yeah,
So out of 10, what would this book be? 10 being the highest.
give it like a 9.43, being
Oh my
exact.
goodness. That's very, very specific. I like to say never give, if you love something a lot, never give it a 10 out of 10 because then whoever's like doing it will do a better time next time. And then they'll work harder for that 10. But wow, that is an
You never,
excellent review.
there's no such thing as a 10 out of 10.
Yeah. But this book seems like it's as close as it's gonna get.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you so much for your time today. And this book sounds like a really good read, and I'm sure a lot of other people will be very interested in taking a look at this book.
100%. And I hope more people read it because it's like something I hold so personally to me, and I love it. And I think more people should enjoy it.
Yeah, I think that it has a really good message for a lot of, people that are in their adolescence and just, I guess, learning to have a little bit of perspective and just navigating life in general. So I hope that a lot of more people will listen to this amazing interview and hopefully get interested in buying their own copy.
100%. I hope so.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Claire.
Thank you for tuning into this episode. If you want to find the books mentioned on this show, head over to our website at dyslexiacanada.org/sharing-stories-podcast. Please support this podcast by subscribing and leaving a review. We wouldn't be here without you.